I'm going to talk about a person who's very keen on air traveling, whose name is Anthony, one of my close-knit friends when I was studying abroad in Australia. Well, I think I'll launch the speech by approaching the scenario of how I met him. It was 4 years ago, probably in the heart of July, when I just landed Sydney for a few-day trip by aircraft. I was waiting at the baggage claim area, as I remembered, and that was when I noticed a young disabled man on his wheelchair came close to me and asked for my help to take his luggage. And then we started to talk with each other a little bit, and it turned out that we are studying at the same university. What a coincidence. Later on, we still keep in touch, and it was nobody else but him to help me a lot in terms of studying. Finally, if I still have time, I'd like to highlight some of the reasons why he loves to travel a lot by plane, as per what he told me. First of all, because he has to, as I mentioned, Anthony has the disability, so traveling by plane is an ideal option for him to facilitate traveling between Melbourne and Sydney, where his family settled. Secondly, it would be obviously time-saving and risk-free by this means of traveling. Last but not least, according to Anthony, he's such a romantic guy, so he loves cloud. This is the main reason why he always insists on grabbing a window seat when boarding on the plane. Well, it's not too exaggerated to regard Anthony as a second-to-none person, because he's definitely an adventurous type of person who loves traveling and exploring the world, in spite of his harsh disability.
Well, as I always believe, everything has pros and cons, and air traveling is not an exception. On the one hand, it is advantageous in some aspects. Firstly, the plane is the fastest means of transport. I mean, its flying speed can help us reach our destination, especially those are out of our own countries, in just a few hours. Secondly, we are provided with in-flight entertainment and services, served by friendly and polite air steward and stewardess. And finally, it is safer than other means because the plane is always equipped with modern technology and you can barely see a turbulence on the plane as usual at others. But on the other hand, we cannot deny some of its shortcomings. First of all, this is the most expensive form of transport, which can only be afforded by a minority of people, right? Second, if accident did happen, the consequences would be a great deal, and it's also easier influenced by weather, terrorism, hijacking, and technical problems. Third, traveling by plane also requires elective passengers. I mean, unless passengers have strong health, they will be suffering air sickness and jet lag, and which are huge problems. And finally, do not forget to mention the complicated formalities and procedures. We have to body check, we have to custom office check, and so on. Absolutely not. I think, people living near the airport will suffer more than benefit. Think about it. A huge noise created, especially at night when the airplane comes or departures, will adversely affect the residential area. And the noise will be even worse when the number of the flights increases. This could result in immense embarrassment on the locals and in particular for the children, because they need quiet environment for their study purpose. Well, obviously, the kind of transport people prefer when traveling depends on many different things related to the trip, such as the destination, the distance you're going to travel, whether you're traveling within your own country or internationally. For example, the longer the distance, the more sense flying makes if you don't have a lot of time, you know what I mean? Taking a train is another option, but it's often slower and there's often delays and overcrowded with the train, which can be a real pain. So you may end up with very long journey, Personally, I think if someone has his or her own car, this is maybe their preference because they give you the most freedom and comfort when you're traveling. Well, to be quite honest, air traveling is now no longer a luxurious means to travel, so most people can afford that. However, in my country, traveling by plane is always the best choice for businessmen, who prioritize time saving and comfort to finish work with high efficiency over the price of the flight ticket, which they consider to be negligible. Elderly people who, are also the target customers aimed by travel agents because they can hardly suffer a long journey with travel sickness caused by other means of transport.